Max was just a puppy when he was abandoned on a dirt road, surrounded by tall grass and the distant sound of passing cars. His big brown eyes reflected fear and confusion. Not understanding why he was there, he wandered back and forth, sniffing the ground for something familiar. The scorching sun and dust gave no relief. Max, a mixed-breed caramel dog, was dirty, skinny, and dehydrated. Days dragged on slowly, and he survived by hunting insects and drinking from puddles. Time hardened his spirit, but his gaze still held a glimmer of hope. One cold morning, Max was found by a group of cyclists. One of them, named Daniel, a middle-aged man with kind eyes, knelt before him. Max approached slowly, tail tucked, but something in Daniel's gentle voice made him trust. It was the first time someone had reached out to him. Daniel called a local rescue NGO, and while they waited, he offered Max water and some biscuits. The dog accepted with gratitude, eating carefully. For the first time in ages, he felt safe. He didn't know it yet, but that moment marked the beginning of a new journey. At the shelter, Max was examined by vets and received his first treatments. He was infested with ticks, had wounds on his paws and signs of mistreatment. Despite everything, he remained calm, as if he knew he was finally in good hands. The shelter gave him a new name, Max, honoring his strength. In the first few days, Max stayed quiet, watching everything cautiously. It took time for him to trust, but little by little he began to approach the volunteers. His recovery was slow but noticeable. Each day brought a small progress, a wagging tail, a shy bark, a step toward affection. Daniel couldn't stop thinking about Max. He started visiting the shelter every day, bringing toys and treats. Their bond grew with each meeting. Max already recognized the sound of Daniel's motorcycle and ran to the gate with bright eyes. They had chosen each other. On a rainy afternoon, Daniel made his decision. He looked at Max, wet and shivering, and said firmly, "You're coming home with me." And so Max left the shelter, heart racing, his nose resting on Daniel's lap. A new home awaited him. Max's arrival at his new home was filled with curiosity. He sniffed every corner, exploring the couch, walls, and even Daniel's shoes. The backyard was spacious with green grass and a small wooden doghouse just for him. For the first time, Max felt the scent of a real home. Daniel adjusted the house to welcome Max with comfort. He bought a soft bed, steel bowls, and even a special blanket. Max, still wary, slept curled up in the early days, but whenever Daniel approached, his tail would wag. A quiet and strong bond was forming. Daily walks became a sacred ritual. Each morning, Max and Daniel walked through the neighborhood square. Max walked beside him, alert and calm, watching everything. When they passed children or other dogs, he showed his gentle nature, always wagging his tail lightly. One morning, Max saw a woman drop her groceries. Without Daniel saying a word, he ran to her, sniffing and stopping by her side. She smiled and petted his head. "What a well-behaved dog," she said. Daniel, eyes misty, replied, "He teaches me more than I teach him." Slowly, Max began to overcome his traumas. He no longer trembled during thunderstorms or hid when someone clapped. He recognized neighbors and even barked with joy when he saw the mailman. The once scared dog was now a beloved part of the neighborhood. One day, Daniel took Max to a picnic with friends at a distant park. Max ran freely, rolled in the grass, and even bathed in a shallow lake. It was as if he was rediscovering life. The sparkle in his eyes was pure, a contagious, innocent joy. During that outing, a friend of Daniel's named Helena approached Max warmly. She was charmed by his sweetness and asked if he'd been trained. Daniel just smiled and replied, "No, he just knows what it's like to be left behind, and that's why he values every gesture." That night, back at home, Max slept deeply at Daniel's bedside. He breathed peacefully, lightly snoring, his paws twitching as if he were dreaming. It was clear. He was happy. Looking at him, Daniel whispered, "You gave me more than I could ever imagine." As months passed, Max began accompanying Daniel to volunteer work at an animal shelter. There, Max was calm around other dogs and cats, as if he understood their pain. His tranquil presence calmed even the most anxious animals, making him a kind of silent therapist. One day, Max found a skinny, scared female dog curled in a corner. Without hesitation, he approached gently, laid beside her, and stayed quiet. The volunteers, touched, began calling her Luz, because by Max's side, she began to shine again. Daniel started documenting those moments with photos and videos, creating a virtual journal about Max. The posts, simple and sincere, touched people's hearts. In no time, Max's story spread, inspiring adoptions and donations to the shelter. Max was changing lives. One Sunday, a school invited Daniel to share Max's story with the students. In the auditorium, while he spoke, Max lay quietly by his side. When Daniel told about the night he found Max in the trash, the children were moved. Some even asked to adopt animals. The bond between Daniel and Max only grew stronger. It was as if they were made for each other. Daniel, who used to live alone and withdrawn, began smiling more. His neighbors noticed. "Max healed your heart," said Mrs. Rita, who always brought dog biscuits. But not everything was easy. Max had a health crisis after eating something spoiled at the park. Days of tension followed at the vet, with Daniel sleeping in the waiting room, never leaving his side. When Max opened his eyes again, weak but alive, Daniel cried with relief. After recovering, Max seemed even more sensitive. He spent hours watching the street from the window, as if reflecting on life with gratitude. Daniel said he was a wise old soul in a dog's body. Their daily life was transforming them, one moment at a time. A year after they met, Daniel decided to throw a party in the park to celebrate Max's rebirth. He invited friends, neighbors, volunteers, and even past adopters. Max, wearing a blue scarf, was the perfect host, running happily, jumping around, and spreading joy with his wagging tail. After the party, Daniel sat on the grass, Max panting and smiling beside him. Watching the people around, he realized how much his life had changed. The loneliness that once weighed on his shoulders had been replaced by affection, purpose, and hope. All thanks to that special dog. In the following months, Daniel began visiting schools, nursing homes, and community centers with Max. Everywhere they went, the dog brought smiles and hugs. He became a symbol of resilience, proving that love can bloom even after the worst storms. Max wasn't just rescued, he started rescuing others. One day, after one of these visits, Daniel received an unexpected proposal. A book editor, moved by Max's story online, wanted to publish it. Daniel hesitated but decided to say yes. He wanted Max's story to reach even more people. The book, released months later, was titled From Trash to Home, and each chapter told a piece of Max's journey. With sincere stories and photos, the book moved readers of all ages. It quickly became a bestseller in pet wellness and life stories. Max was now inspiring the world. One day in the park, a little girl ran up to Max and hugged him tightly. She said, "It was because of your book that I convinced my dad to adopt Thor." Daniel smiled with emotion, realizing that their story wasn't just theirs. It now lived in many hearts. Time passed, and Max, with graying fur, stayed active despite the signs of age. Daniel treated him with double the love, respecting his pace and giving him the comfort of a home that would never lack affection, even on the quietest days. One calm afternoon, Max lay on the porch, watching the leaves dance in the wind. Daniel sat beside him, petting his head. They both knew time was precious, but instead of fearing it, they chose to live every moment as a gift. After all, they were together, and that was enough. Max's journey showed that even on the darkest roads, a new beginning is possible, that a rejected heart can still find shelter, and that love can heal invisible wounds. He wasn't just a rescued dog. He was a four-legged angel who saved far more than anyone imagined.